It is 4 p.m. on Tuesday, which means it is time for the Audible with my guys Donnie, Rightside, and a rare Tuesday appearance from the Whale Capper. We got great cappers in the chat. Dennis Garcia, Adam, Olin, Reese, Tommy, Wager, Jeff, Billings. What a great group. Rye Cape, Nick, Robert Weimer. Thank God, I was a little concerned there. I couldn't find Robert Weimer. Rye Cape, Sean, Mick. Let's get to work. There's Jooks in the house. Deer Slayer, Ski. Happy Tuesday to all of you. Let's get to work and hammer this card. Donnie Rightside, how are you doing today?
Definitely going up on a Tuesday, Jimmy. Welcome back after a much-needed vacation for yourself and also for the Whale Capper over there on a Tuesday. I'm excited, Jimmy. You got the good vibes back in the room. Why don't we do this thing today, huh?
I am. I'm pumped. The last week I was with you guys, I went 7-0, and then I lost on the Monday nighter, and then I lost 2 units last night. So I'm back to that feeling of anguish and anger, and I'm back to my old self. The 7-0 long gone. Whale Capper, my man, how you doing on this Tuesday afternoon?
I'm well. Appreciate you guys having me. This is going to be a fun Tuesday edition, and great card this week.
It is.
Good games.
Without a doubt, we have some very, very exciting games. Let's first put up the record for transparency and honesty. Let's put up the record, even though it's pretty horrifying for me. Rafa, let's see the record. And it's okay. It's okay. It's not 30 units down. Okay, it's going to take a second. So do we want to do that later then, Rafa? All right. Oh, there we go. Here is the record. I got it down under 20 units, which is horrifying. But 2 losses last night. Russell Wilson over 21.5 rush yards. And the Vikings +3, feeling pretty good at halftime. That fell apart very quickly. We got the SBR Forum joining us. Christian Walsh in the house. Ganjapreneur ready to get to work. Let's get started with the Thursday nighter, and both side and total I find appealing here. Cowboys, Bears. Cowboys, Bears, Thursday nighter. Cowboys open up at -2.5. There are 3s on the board. The total opened up at 43.5, and we see a 42.5. 38 Fahrenheit on Thursday in Chicago. Mostly cloudy, 8 miles per hour. The 3-3 at home Bears against the Cowboys. Both teams 6-6. Bears are done, but Trubisky may be playing for his career. Bears defense was not the juggernaut we expected this year. Cowboys have a lot to play for. The division is up for grabs. But still, if you're going to give me 3 points with the Bears at home against this weak Cowboys team, I want to take it. I want the Bears. I'm also interested in the under. Let's start with Donnie Rightside. Cowboys, Bears.
Yep, it is a Thursday night football game in name only, but not a short week Thursday since the Dallas Cowboys, I'll ring this bell every single year, always have the best actual schedule because they never play a true Thursday night road game on short rest. That's going to help the Cowboys out in this game. Let's also not forget when we looked at the game on Thanksgiving, the Bills played a very good game and ended up beating the Cowboys. Bills certainly much better than the Cowboys to me so far. Both of these teams, I should say, 6-6 and very disappointing. But I got to tell you, Jimmy, it still comes down to it. Like, we're looking at one offense that, even though they did lose last week to the Buffalo Bills, who have a good defense, racked up over 430 yards of offense. If you can move the ball somewhat against the Chicago Bears, I'm still going to lean on, even though Mitchell Trubisky actually played well in Detroit on Thanksgiving Day, it's Dak Prescott who's playing at an elite level with an offense that's moving like a machine versus the Chicago Bears, who, when they drop back to pass, I'm just wondering if it's going to be a competent throw, and if anybody's open, I'll always lean towards Dallas in this situation. And even with the line movement not going in the right direction, from 3s to some 2.5s out there early in the week, Jimmy, I'm looking towards the Cowboys here.
Looking towards the Cowboys. Maybe I should pump my brakes. Donnie, very quickly on the total. Opening up at 43.5, dipping down to 42.5. Our guy, Dennis Garcia, says this is Chicago's highest total since week 1, and it's Dallas's lowest total of the season. What do you think of this total, Donnie?
Yeah, Dallas, I mean, look, it's still top 3 in the offense. Top 3 in the NFL in offense. If I'm going to look at this football game, and Mitch maybe getting a little bit healthier, maybe getting a little bit of a bump last week, saying, hey, I can actually make some of these throws. Dallas Cowboys, I'm always going to be leaning towards over. Defense average, offense very good. Give me the over.
Wow. I was leaning under and leaning to the Bears. Donnie leaning towards the other sides of me. Let's hear what Whale Capper has to say. Whale Capper, Cowboys, Bears, Thursday nighter.
Oh man, I'm not going to be able to break the tie. I can break the tie on the total. I'm in agreement with Donnie on this over as a decent look here. I think that the injury report is worth watching. I think the move from 3 back down to 2.5 on the Cowboys was largely influenced by the return of Akeem Hicks. He has been a super important part of the Bears defensive line this season, and having him back should create some ability to rush the passer, especially if there are some lingering injuries affecting the Cowboys offensive line. But as mentioned, Cowboys offense can absolutely get to 23, 24 points here. And, their defense is having a tackling crisis right now. So I think that the Bears can get it to 21. I think the number is pretty fair. 3 is tight. I don't expect that the Bears will get a win here, but I do expect points. I have this around 45, so I'll take an over 42 any day of the week.
Interesting. Brooklyn Funk Project says, I'll say it again, Dallas hasn't played a good team and won this year. Chicago is better than most of who they've played. Kevin Taylor leaning under. Adam Olin said, Bears barely beat a third-string quarterback. Landon Hayes says, Cowboys, it's a must-win. Dutch Boy Fresh liking the under. Dennis Garcia liking the under. Adam Olin also leaning towards these Cowboys. Nico says, wouldn't be shocked if the Bears win. Cowboys just want to beat Philly and win the division at 8-8. And Landon Hayes saying Chicago isn't good. Well, I will take the under off of my worksheet, but I am still interested in these Chicago Bears at home. All right, that's the Thursday nighter. Let's roll in to Sunday. We have a nice 17-game card here. Let's go with Baltimore, Buffalo, Ravens, Bills. Ravens open up at -5.5. They're now 6s on the board. This total at 43 or 43.5. This Bills defense is fantastic. It's better than people are giving credit. It is a very good defense. Now, the Ravens are very good on both sides of the ball, whereas the Bills are more one-dimensional. Lamar Jackson is spectacular. Great coach, great quarterback. Marcus Peters has been so good. Marlon Humphrey's having an unreal season. In saying all that, Bills, give me 6 points with the Bills. I find that appealing. Do I want to get in the way of the Ravens? I'm not sure. And probably very hesitant if I do. Donnie Rightside, take it away. Ravens, Bills.
It's a good one, and I'm excited to watch this one. Another, this, as we talk about, a huge card, but also some really intriguing matchups, this being one of them. And what do you take away from Baltimore last week in the rain, pulling out a huge victory and stamping their claim, saying, we are the best team in the AFC? Now you got to go on the road and prove it again. And Buffalo Bills not getting a lot of respect. I mean, the Buffalo Bills are 9-3 and playing some really good football and catching close to a touchdown here this weekend versus the Baltimore Ravens. It's another one of those things saying, look, if it's not going to be a rainy quagmire and playing an elite level defense like the 49ers, we know the Baltimore Ravens are going to score points. The one thing I do like about the Buffalo offense, they are sneaky. You have a really athletic quarterback that can maneuver around in the pocket and make some plays. Look, they played very well against the Dallas Cowboys. This is a level up in defense versus the Baltimore Ravens in this game. But taking a look overall, Jimmy, as opposed to a side, I think the Baltimore Ravens could go on the road and get a win and cover in this game. But I actually think there's going to be a little bit more points. As I said, outside of that really rainy conditions against an upper level team that they still got to 20, who's going to stop this Baltimore Ravens offense? They're going to be in the high 20s in this game. I think Baltimore can counteract that. 43, 44, 42.5 in that range seems a little bit low. I think we get some points in this game, Jimmy.
Interesting. Donnie looking towards the over here. That's sitting at 43 at Pinnacle, 43.5 at some other books, 43 at Bet Online. Whale Capper, you were right. Bang on with these Baltimore Ravens this season. I was way off on my breakdown of them before the season started. In saying that, I like what Nick O says. Bills a live dog. Ravens will come down to earth. This is the spot. Kevin Taylor says Ravens could be a little flat here. What do you say, Whale Capper? Ravens, Bills.
I like those two calls a lot. I think the Bills are a live dog here, and I think this is a terrible spot for the Baltimore Ravens. I can see a scenario where they where they're playing from behind after they get, punched in the mouth a little bit here by the Bills. And then it's just a matter of if the Bills defense plays up the way they played up against the Cowboys and can keep this team under 20. I like Donnie's sentiment there that the over is a decent shout. If the wind isn't outrageous, I think this is, even if the wind is kind of intense, this is going to be a kind of 2-run focused approaches that should net some pretty decent yardage on the ground against each other. This is just a flat spot for Baltimore. They've had so many super meaningful games over the last month. Tough in division and out of conference competition, coming off of a huge physical win against the San Francisco 49ers at home. Now they got to go on the road and play out in the cold. This Buffalo team, on the other hand, has extra time to prepare for this game. So this is a rough one for the Ravens, and I would not be interested in laying the number of points they're asking you to lay at this point. But I do think the Ravens can get a win, and I do think the leaning slightly to the over, although I'm waiting on more weather before I pull the trigger.
Weather right now, 43 Fahrenheit, cloudy, 18 mile per hour winds projected. Brooklyn Funk Project says Buffalo in December is a hard place to play. Landon Hayes says Baltimore by 10. Lamar is unstoppable. Samuel Burks, Baltimore double digits. Do we expect, Whale Capper, what do you expect this line to be come Sunday morning? Do you expect it to be 6.5?
Man, I was actually, at first we saw this go up to, at first we saw it go up to 6. I think this is a lot of maneuvering, really. People are trying to get bigger positions down on Bills at +6 and just because it's a softer key number. I wouldn't be surprised at all if this is in the 5-4.5 range on Sunday as Bills money trickles in as kind of second week in a row. A lot of people went to the window and backed the Bills on Thanksgiving and got rewarded. And when that happens, the tendency to go back to them as a dog now at home, I think you're going to see that money show up again in favor of the Bills.
Ganesh says not betting against Lamar Jackson. Triple Beam Dream says I'll take Lamar Jackson. All right. I think the Bills can cover this number. I do, but I'm not sure if I have the balls to get in the way of the Baltimore Ravens. Let's move on to Redskins, Packers. Let me pull out the best odds page in the business at sportsbookreview.com, the SBR odds page. Redskins, Packers. Packers open up at -14. Now they're -13. There's a 12 at Heritage, a 12.5, 5 dimes. The total opened up at 42.5. Now we have 42s and 41.5. 39 Fahrenheit in Green Bay. Cloudy, 9 miles per hour. These Packers are 5-1 at home. Green Bay is not that impressive. Their defense has been good. Their defense is the reason why they're winning games. The Packers are 22nd in total offense. The Redskins are dead last in total offense, but they are getting better. Haskins is a talented guy. The questions about his dedication will be running rampant after taking selfies instead of being in the victory formation. Will the Redskins show up? Do the Redskins care? The Redskins are bad, but Haskins is getting better. This is a lot of points. Packers have no reason to cover this big spread. And the Packers offense, sure, they look good against the Giants. Will they look good against the Redskins? Donnie Rightside, take it away. Redskins, Packers.
I think it has the same sentiment last week when you're taking a look at that Carolina Panthers-Washington Redskins game. You look at the Washington Redskins on offense and say, well, they stink. And it said, well, wait a second. They're getting 10 points from a Carolina Panthers team. Now, Green Bay is obviously a better football team to me than the Carolina Panthers, but that same sentiment rolls in where you're getting close to 2 touchdowns. And the one thing that the Washington Redskins want to do to protect their young quarterback is run the football, which they did amazing last week. And now when you take a look at Green Bay giving up 4.7 yards per carry on the season, that's sort of their pathway to sort of stay in this football game. But I hasten to say, taking a look at Dwayne Haskins, in order to win football games and go on the road, normally your quarterback has to play well. Redskins again last week through the air, Jimmy, 114 yards. You can't really hold up and get 8.3 yards per carry every single football game as they did last week in beating the Carolina Panthers and costing Ron Rivera eventually his job. But looking at this game over, I can't back Green Bay in this situation, laying 2 touchdowns. Do I think they have the capability of winning by 2 touchdowns? Absolutely, I think they do. Getting healthier as the season goes on, always tough to win and move on in Lambeau. You got a victory on the road last week for the Redskins. Are they playing a little bit better? Sure they are. But this one of those games, Jimmy, I might want to take a step back and say, boy, unless I see some different movement here, if this line gets back to 14 as a total, maybe I'm interested in taking the Washington Redskins. Don't have a great feel for this football game. Do I think it's a fair price line? I think it's still a little bit high and would lean towards the Redskins, but I can't back a quarterback that can't throw for over 150 yards.
Makes sense. Tommy Wager says, I'll take Washington to cover. Nick O says, too many points. Packers can't stop the run. Redskins more confident after beating the Panthers. Adam Olin on the other side saying Packers will take a similar approach as they did against the Giants. Jump on the skins early. Force Haskins to make mistakes. Pack by 20, says Adam Olin. Whale Capper, Redskins, Packers.
Yeah, well, when you see what the kind of effort that we got from the Redskins 2 weeks in a row, and then you look at that many points, it's very tempting to get on board with the Redskins. But I'll tell you what, one thing you learn the longer you do this is you do not get rich by fading the Packers in Lambeau in December. This is a rough trip for a young quarterback. I do not expect in any way, shape, or form you see the level of competitiveness that we saw out of the Redskins in the last couple of weeks. And it's just a matter really of, if there's garbage time points, whether they get the cover or not here. I think that Packers can get out to an early lead, win this one wire to wire. But I think the line is fair. If anything, I would lean on an under in case this just gets away from the Redskins and they pack it in and call it a day.
Lean on an under. Interesting. That under opening up at 42.5, still at 42.5 at Pinnacle. Bookmaker, 5 dimes have dropped, and Bet365 have dropped it to 41.5. Sean Mick says no value on this Packers Foreskins game. Packers win, but could be 1, could be 21. Who knows? A pass for Sean Mick. All right, let's keep rolling along and move on to Broncos Texans. Broncos, Texans. Texans open up at 9.5. That's where they are now, although 5 dimes has them at -9. This total opened up at 41.5. There's a 142 on the board, but the rest are 41.5. Drew Lock going up against a playoff team. Texans dominated the Patriots. Now J.J. Watt saying he may be back for the playoffs. Is there enough motivation to light a fire for the Texans against a weak Broncos squad? The Titans are breathing down the Texans' neck. This is a must-win for the Texans, and I'm still hesitant to back them at 9.5 points against the Broncos. We've seen the Broncos go into places, like LA against the Chargers, and step up. We saw the Broncos play Minnesota very tough. Can they play the Texans tough here? Donnie, Rightside, Broncos, Texans.
You know what? On first look, you look at this and say, wait a second. Boy, look at Denver last week. Rookie quarterback energized them to get a victory over the Chargers. But then you start to take the smoke and mirrors approach away and say, what have the Denver Broncos actually done the last couple weeks on offense? They've been horrendous on offense for most of the year. 85 yards on the ground versus Buffalo, 84 yards versus the Chargers. And let's not forget also, Drew Luck, he was really good in this football game. 134 yards in the air with some incredible acrobatic plays from Courtland Sutton. The one downfall that you're going to have with the Houston Texans is, they got up for that Super Bowl game in prime time versus the New England Patriots, and that's probably going to have a little bit of rub-off. And also when you take a look at the head football coach, Bill O'Brien, these situations are the ones where when you back the Texans will win by double digits. Boy, you shake your head and be like, what am I actually doing? But this team is now getting healthy. This team is ready to make that run, ready to seize the AFC South and get into the playoffs, where the Denver Broncos, a lot of feel-good stories in the rookie. Now the rookie is going to go on the road with not much on offense against a high-powered offense that, unlike the Chargers, who throw shot puts into the flat for 3-yard gains to Austin Eckler and hope he takes it the remainder of the way, that's not going to be the case. This is a big-time offense. The Denver Broncos do have an elite defense, but they do lose another defensive end in Wolf. Is Von Miller going to come to play in this football game? And what are you going to get from a rookie now going on the road when he's the one holding his ear and can't hear the actual signals coming in from the sideline? To me, it's the Houston Texans early in the week, but I do hasten it by saying Bill O'Brien laying, and I need to win by 10 points, is tough. But the Houston Texans clearly the better football team here.
Without doubt. They're clearly the better football team. Adam Olin leaning towards Denver. Nico says Texans fat and happy after 2 big wins. Brooklyn Funk Project says rare spot for Houston. 3rd home game in a row, I believe. Dutch Boy Fresh, Broncos with the points all day. Sean Mick says Texans look very good versus Patriots, but Broncos are grinders. Whale Capper, take it away. Broncos, Texans.
Yeah, this is Texans or nothing. I would say the Broncos they have one player who is putting up a pretty impressive performance week in, week out, and that's Courtland Sutton. He's making these quarterbacks look better than they are. And the Broncos clearly have issues with their offensive line. I think the Texans defense has come on incredibly strong over the last month. They've gotten above average play from a lot of replacement pieces in their secondary. I think they're going to have no problem disrupting the passing attack that's solely focused on one player. Which, if you're a one-dimensional team and you're going on the road and you're expected to cover, 8-point spread, I got bad news for you. This Texans team is not messing around. They are going to probably get into the mid to high 20s. And it's just a matter of, can you go toe for toe? Can you get it to, say 16, 18, 20 points? I don't see Drew Lock doing that on the road in this spot. I think this is a nightmare spot for the Broncos. I'm considering laying the points with the Texans, but I may just stay away. I know that the potential for the Texans to let down after such an important win against the Patriots is real. I know the fact that the Texans are looking at going on the road next week to the Titans, potentially to sew up the AFC South is noteworthy. But I think the Texans get a win and a cover in this game. And if Tennessee stumbles at all against the Raiders, then you might get a nice little buy low, sell high spot backing the Titans next week against the Texans.
Interesting breakdown there is Broncos, Texans, Dutch Boy Fresh. Broncos 4-1 against the spread in the last 5. The Sports 78 says, no chance I can lay this many points with Houston off of an emotional win against the Pats. Teaser option, maybe. Dutch Boy Fresh says Texans D soft. Broncos will run the ball this week. And those Broncos receivers, like Cortland Sutton, 3 of them, Fant included at 6'4", they do give Locke an opportunity. But this is tough, going up against a playoff team on the road. Texans or nothing does make sense. Jook says the sports gambling's 10% skill, 90% balls. 90% balls, says Jooks. Okay, let's keep rolling along now. Let's move on to the Niners against the Saints. I was very proud of the San Francisco 49ers in Baltimore. And if we get another shot at them, say in the Super Bowl, hey, I'm gonna back these Niners here. It was a very, very, very tough game. And in the rain, Sherman sprains his knee, DJ Jones sprains his ankle. They got beat up in the game. But they should be getting D Ford back. They should be getting Breda back. Staley should be coming back. The Niners have only had trouble against mobile quarterbacks. They can get after Drew Brees. Drew Brees has not played that well this year. This Niners offense just plugs away and plugs away. Now, I've seen the market move towards these Niners. New Orleans opened up a pinnacle at -3.5. They're now at -3, but there's 2.5s on the board. This total opened up at 45.5. There's a 44.5 at pinnacle, 44. I think there can be an over in this game. I do. I believe that there can be points scored. And these are two very good defenses who could even put up pick sixes as well and help us get to this over. I'm leaning towards the over. I was initially leaning towards the Saints at this number. I'm no longer leaning there. Reese says he just grabbed the Niners at +3. Samuel Burke says, who dat? Donnie Rightside, big game.
Yeah.
Niners.
I love it. Awesome game. And when you take a look at it, Jimmy, what are the one thing that we always like to wait and see, like late in the season? What's the weather going to be like? What's the temperature going to be like? Doesn't matter. It's going to be in a dome. So when I'm looking at this football game, try to play it off last night by taking a Minnesota Vikings first half, because the old adage is, and it's true, it's really hard to beat the Saints in the dome. But if you can get one of those 2.5-point lines in the first half, I think this game is going to be extremely close all the way through. And the one thing I also can't understand is, 44s on the board. Yes, the San Francisco 49ers have an outrageous defense, and they do play extremely well against teams that don't have mobile quarterbacks. But I think their offense, even though how well the New Orleans Saints have played this year, the San Francisco 49ers should be able to put up points. Jimmy, if we take out the rain games, and these aren't just like, hey, it's a little bit of rain in the forecast. The game they played versus the Washington Redskins, where they scored 9 points, it was basically both teams hand off like you're playing 65-pound midget football into a pile of mush where you go 3 yards and just hope one team fumbles and the other team can win. And also when you take a look at a game where you're playing the Baltimore Ravens in an absolute horrendous rainstorm, take both of those games out this year. 32 points per game for the offense for the San Francisco 49ers. And if you just look at the road games, again, without the rain in the forecast, over 30 points a game as well. This offense is a machine. It's going to be perfect conditions. You're going to be getting some guys back healthy on offense. I think the San Francisco 49ers put up points. I'm happy to take the +3 if it would still be available in this football game, but also looking towards the total, I think both of these teams can score some points here. Both these teams should be able to approach 20 points in this game, which gives you an honest effort at that 44. I like the Niners early in the week, but I do like the over, Jimmy. I agree with you on that one.
I like the over, and I'm about to lock it in if Whale Capper doesn't pull out the harpoon on me. Whale Capper, Niners, Saints.
I'm going to pull out a little bit of a harpoon on you and tell you that the only thing that's preventing the over from being like a slam dunk play is the potential that the Niners D absolutely smothers the Saints offense. It's possible. The Saints are missing some humongously important pieces on their offensive line. This is a huge step up in competition. They've been playing the likes of the Panthers, the Bucks, and the Falcons going on 4 weeks since their bye. They haven't played anyone close to this level of competition in so long. If you are feeling over, and I completely understand why you would, I think you circle San Francisco team total over, because that's a depressed number. That should be in the mid to high 20s, and it's going to be like around 21 or so. So that is a sweetheart of a look on San Francisco team total over. I like San Francisco money line. I would look for an alternate line on San Francisco. I think they win by more than a field goal. You look at a team that just played a very physical and very difficult game in Baltimore, and you think, oh my gosh, they're going to have to fly all the way back across the country to San Francisco and then all the way to New Orleans. They're going to be, travel weary and worn out. Well, the San Francisco 49ers have been playing a different game this season with the way that they're scheduling their travel, the way that they're running their organization. They go from Baltimore down to Sarasota, Florida to spend a week doing a full focused week of preparation for the Saints game. They are taking this extraordinarily seriously. And on the other side of the ball, the Saints are completely beleaguered by injuries. Nicks all over the place with important pieces, not getting anywhere close to the production they need to get out of Kamara to be competitive in this one. I think San Francisco wins this, and I think they do it in style. And that's probably my favorite look of the week.
Ooh!
Bing, 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 bing.
That's
bing.
what I wanted to hear. Adam Mullen says, take the points with the Niners. Saints underwhelming. Reese says, might sprinkle the money line as well. Avi Gold, 49ers money line and over. Nico says, Saints fading in the second half of the season, but can Niners handle another road game after a tough battle with the Ravens? I say yes, they cover, says Nico. Robbie Tagaloa, the Samoan Thunder, says 49ers first half. Clint Richardson liking the Niners here. Jeff Billings loves the Niners first half, full game, and the over. All good until we get to my guy, Dennis Garcia, who says San Francisco's two toughest games this year, Seattle, Baltimore. They lose both. Now, the Seattle game, come on, Dennis. There are tons and tons of injuries in that spot, and I love the way they played against the Ravens. Back-to-back road games in a tough venue. New Orleans with extra time to prepare. Dennis Garcia says, I love New Orleans. I love New Orleans. Well, let's get it started right now. At my book, team total over for the Niners, 20.5, minus 120.
That's insane.
I'm going
that
to
is insane.
Take it.
That is crazy. 20 and a half?
20 and a
Yep.
half.
I don't know. I don't know what team they've been watching.
I love it. All right, first play locked in. Niners team total over 20 and a half at minus 120. Tell me more, Whale Capper, about the alternative line. Are you going to take the Niners at -3? What's
minus 2.5 is probably as far as I'm interested in going, because it could be a scenario where you have Drew Brees coming out at halftime and he's down a score or two and they come roaring back but can't quite close the gap. I think the Niners, the Niners aren't going to win by 1 or 2, that's such a small likelihood. You might as well, really the play was take the money line on the open. It was like plus 160, plus 150, depending on where the book was. It's down into like the plus 135 range. So you've lost a little bit of value there. I think you can make that up, though, getting across some of the kind of meaningless points in the 1 and 2 range. It's not going to be a tie. It's not going to be, 1 or 2 point victory. I would be surprised at least. And I think Niners at minus 2.5 is probably where I'm looking.
At minus 2.5, the money line right now at plus 130. When I go to the main props page here and look at the alternative point spread, I'm not getting that much better here. It's funny. It's strange. Doesn't make any sense here. This has got to change. The alternative point spread is the same as the money line at minus 2.5. Is that
well? In that case, there's no point in taking that. Then I would just take the money line. There's probably like a 1, 2, maybe as much as 4% chance that the Niners win by 1 or 2 points. So I guess if you're getting the exact same price on money line and minus 2.5, then I would take the money line. But if you can get back up to like plus 150, then I'd rather take a swing on that at minus 2.5.
That's strange that the Niners minus 2.5 would be the exact same as the money line right now. Very, 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 very strange. Parsha Sami says take the over as well. Right now, I'm going to stick with the Niners team total over 20.5 with confidence at minus 120. And I'm not even going to line shop. That's how confident I am. Okay, let's move on to Bengals-Browns. Bengals-Browns. The total opening up at 42.5. It has dropped to 40.5, and that's because of the 18-mile-per-hour winds. But it's kind of warm for this time of year, 47 Fahrenheit and cloudy. We will check the weather again come Friday. Here we go. The Browns opening up at minus 8, now 8.5 or 9. Now, that's a big spread for a shitty Browns team, but they should destroy Cincy. Dalton just has no weapons and a leaky O-line. AJ, is he shut down for the year? What's happening there? They're coming off a critical loss to the Steelers. Kitchens is playing for his job. Will Urban Meyer be getting a call in a few months? Bengals, Browns. Donnie Rightside, take it away.
You know what? You look at this football game and immediately comes the thought, like, boy, what a great over this situation is going to be. You know, you saw the last time the Browns gave out, forget about the defense that they went up against the Pittsburgh Steelers, but they annihilated the Miami Dolphins as they got one of those breather football games. And you think this was going to be another breather game because a lot of the Cleveland Browns, you know, all the way up and down, they're facing really tough defenses. But then I take a look at Cincinnati and be like, I'm not understanding something. You know, 22-6, 16-10, 17-10, 24-10, you know, games like that. So you're saying to yourself, like, wait a second here. Where did this defense come from? An absolute sieve with not much firepower on defense. How can they hold up? And then you look at the opposite side. You're not seeing a lot of firepower. And yes, you're going to get John Ross back, which should be a nice little deep threat if he plays or what pitch count he's going to be on for the Cincinnati Bengals. But no longer do I look at this football game, Jimmy, like, boy, this is an automatic over. They should be able to hit it. And yes, we're talking about some windy conditions here in Cleveland, but as long as there's no precipitation, I don't really know how much of a difference that's going to make outside of, you know, the 50-yard field goal, which field goal kickers haven't been all that good on this year. As in fact, a historic record low. I got to tell you, I'm leaning towards the Cincinnati Bengals in this game. Everything about the Cleveland Browns, you thought that they're going to rectify, or one of those, you know, reports that was coming out. We talked to somebody embedded with the Cleveland Browns. They're going to show who's the new champion in the AFC North. Well, I mean, they got clowned on Sunday. A perfect scenario for the Cleveland Browns, if you will. A lot of guys dinged up. You take a 10-0 lead with a rookie quarterback, and then they end up getting stomped into the second half. I don't like anything about the Cleveland Browns. If you're going to give me 9 points with a bad Bengals team who all of a sudden is playing some much better defense, I think this game's going to be closer than a lot of people think. I'm leaning towards the Cincinnati Bengals early in the week, but not really going to touch that total, which should be an over. But for some reason, Cincinnati Bengals are holding people down on defense.
They are. It's the only positive this year is their front seven. But you know what? What I'm trying to do is not let the Bengals win over the Jets have anything to do with my capping here. I'm not going to take the Browns, but I can't let Dalton coming back in that spot against Gase get in my head. I'm trying to not let it get in my head. I think the Browns can smack the Bengals, but when I was initially breaking this game down, I was completely on that side, and then I just kind of talked myself off of this Bengals team. Let's hear what Whale Cap Rats say. Bengals, Browns.
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement with both of you guys. That's an awful lot of points for a shitty team to be laying, even going up against the Bengals. And I think the over, it was a slight lean because you've seen the Bengals get rewarded now by running a really aggressive offense. They were taking shots left and right against the Jets. They got rewarded for it. No reason to think that they will do anything but kind of give it another go. You know, let's get some rhythm. Let's get some momentum to finish the season so we can head into next season feeling better about our chances. Like, I think that's where you are right now if you're the Cincinnati Bengals, even though likely you're talking about a quarterback change next season. I think overall you want, you know, the younger players in your team to, be competitive and to try hard. And I don't know where the Bengals defense has come from. They have one strength, which is a couple of players on their defensive line who can really create a decent pass rush. There is some questions about how the Browns O-line will hold up. It felt like the Browns' collapse against the Steelers was largely born out of the fact that they gave up a sack on every freaking important third down. It was extremely frustrating to watch. And, you know, the whispers around Cleveland that this may be it for Freddie Kitchens, you're going to get a true sense of how this team feels about Freddie Kitchens, their level of effort in this game. Because if they come out and pull a stinker, he's getting the Ron Rivera treatment on Monday morning probably.
Absolutely. And speaking of the Ron Rivera treatment, let's go there right now. Panthers, Falcons. Now, before I learned that Rivera had been canned, I was moving towards Carolina. Atlanta opening up at -2, now -3s across the board. This total opened at 48. It's a 47 at Pinnacle, 47.5 at 5 Dimes, Heritage, Bovada, Intertops, UWager, Bet 365, 48 at Bookmaker and Bet Online. The Panthers are a tricky cap. So let me say that I was leaning towards the Panthers, but I just, year in and year out, I find them very difficult. I never seem to know who's going to show up for this team. The issue is McCaffrey. Yeah, he slowed down a little bit, but the Falcons defense, doesn't have an answer for McCaffrey. The Falcons are exactly who we thought they were. When they beat the Saints showed up cocky. The Falcons are done. It's hard to put in the same amount of effort when you know your season is over. And now we have the Panthers playing after Rivera gets canned. Donnie Rightside, take it away, Panthers, Falcons.
Yeah, where's the mindset going to be for the Carolina Panthers after firing their head coach? So one thing that's kind of interesting here is you do get a little bit of a breather when the head football coach goes away because the offensive coordinator wants to impress. Guys want to show that to management they really mean business and try to hunker down. Well, why weren't they doing it under Ron Rivera? The other interesting thing also is like the analytical edge that you used to look at Carolina where Ron Rivera just went for everything under the sun. 4th and 1, 4th and 2. Doesn't matter where they're out on the field, going for 2-point conversions. I wonder if that is going to continue. But it's the Atlanta Falcons. Don't we know what they're about at this point? Didn't the pumpkin, or the slipper break at midnight? And if the Atlanta Falcons are laying points, I don't really want anything to do with them. I think Carolina will still give an honest effort, even though their head football coach got fired in a terrible, terrible loss last week. But also what we saw from the Redskins is sort of a pathway to banging down the door on the Carolina Panthers is run the football and expose them. That's not what Atlanta does. They're not a physical offensive line. Devontae Freeman hasn't shown much light of anything this year, and the way their pathway is through throwing the football. And who knows what we even get Julio Jones, even if Julio Jones even comes back this week. Carolina Panthers getting points, I'm interested. Atlanta Falcons laying points, I'm not interested.
Yeah, well put. Jim Rummy says, I don't care. I got the Falcons -2 at -106. You beat the line move. Barsha Tommy says the Falcons will get the job done. Robbie Tagaloa, Carolina first half worth a shot. Robert Weimer says like the over here more than a side. DeAndre Polk says Kyle Allen stinks. Fade him. Jin Kang says never bet the Falcons with Matt Ryan. Nico says bounce back spot for the Panthers. Falcons are banged up. Dennis Garcia says bet the team that fired the coach angle. Haven't talked myself into it yet, but I will. Jeff Billings liking the Panthers first half and full game. Whale Capper, Panthers, Falcons.
Easiest game of the week to cross off, guys. We got a full slate. There's a lot of other games. Good luck figuring out any motivations between either of these two teams. I don't think that there is a fired the coach, motivational angle that gets the Panthers fired up to compete. Their season is over. And realistically, if I'm, looking at my organization as a Panthers owner, I'm telling my coaches, put Christian McCaffrey on ice. Do not continue to run him into the ground. Do not risk him getting, like a debilitating injury that would affect his performance in 2020. And if I'm the Atlanta Falcons owner, do not put Julio Jones out there. Any of my guys that are dinged that we're going to count on for next year to compete, you're going to have a window next year. Drew Brees is in decline. Saints are kind of, losing some important pieces here. You have absolutely got to be thinking about 2020. This game is meaningless to both of these teams. And if I'm giving them advice from a, kind of a long-term strategic standpoint, don't risk injury to your franchise players in this one, guys.
It's a great point. It's a very, very, very good point. Why bother putting your everything in danger? Okay, there's the Panthers, Falcons. Maybe I should. Whale Capper, what do you think of the old adage, back a team after their coach is fired?
Yeah, I think in years past, there was probably some motivational edge to be had in it, but. I mean, we saw this game play out not too long ago, and I was in that moment. I was thinking, the Panthers still have some life. And, the Falcons just played their Super Bowl and beat the Saints. Now they're going to have a motivational letdown. The market completely moved against me. That number got steamed from 6 to 3, I think. And the Falcons won convincingly. Their defense is playing a hell of a lot better since they made them switch to, from what's Dan Quinn from being the defensive coordinator to just being the head coach. They've done a hell of a lot better defensively, and they can do a decent job of playing defense against teams that can only kind of complete the short intermediate passing game, which is what Kyle Allen is right now as a quarterback. So I don't think that the Panthers really have some magical set of attack weapons here to get revenge after their loss, or to avenge their fired coach, or to right the ship here. I think they are going down, and I don't have any reason to think that there's a betting angle to be had.
Interesting. Very, very interesting spot. Donnie Rightside, what do you think about that old adage to back a team after their coach is fired?
Yeah, it's a lot different in certain instances, maybe in college where you can rally it around. But these guys are professionals, man. If you give them true serum here, whether their coach goes or not, as long as their paycheck cashes, that's really all they care about. I think it's negligible. I don't think it matters that much here.
Interesting stuff. All right, let's move on to the Lions at Vikings. So I look at this line with the Vikings at minus 13, 5 dimes protecting themselves. The teasers at minus 14. Which is at plus 113. I'm sitting here looking at this minus 13, and I'm like, man, do I take the Lions right now? Because we all saw what happened last night. The Vikings got beat up. They got beat up. They were in control of that game until they lost quality after quality player, and all of a sudden, Cousins looked terrible because he had no weapons. And here you're going to give me 13 points with the Vikings on a short week. It's just too many points for a team coming off a tough Monday night loss. The Lions can cover this. The Lions can cover this. I want to hear what you guys have to say about this spot, because as soon as I saw this number, I was like, do I pull the trigger immediately and then tap the brakes and hear what the guys have to say about this? Donnie Rightside, Lions, Vikings.
Yeah, this is the reason why I love us having a Friday show, because there's a lot of stuff that's going to come out from Minnesota this week. It's going to determine whether or not you probably want to back them, or if you want to even take a look at a total over. Because when you look at the Detroit secondary, you can light them up. And if I'm going to get a healthy Adam Thielen and a healthy Stephon Diggs back there, they're going to do some damage to that secondary. But also, it's really nice to work off a play action, a healthy Dalvin Cook, who says, and again, you never want to listen to a player, yeah, I'm good. Well, you were so good, you couldn't come back in the second half, and you look like your arm was hanging off of your body, which one more hit in the following week probably could knock you out for the rest of the football game. And how much do the Vikings actually want to put into this game? They're not really in a sandwich type of scenario. They figure they should be able to beat the Detroit Lions at home. And then you have the Chargers the following week, really gearing up for that Green Bay Packers showdown the following week. So at least you don't have the look-away standpoints, but you do play a Monday night football game. It's going to be short rest, you're coming home. But the one thing coming home, the Minnesota Vikings typically play extremely well at home. And obviously that record with Mike Zimmer sticks out. But it is a division game. It's 13 points. If you tell me right now, Jimmy, Dalvin Cook, dodge a bullet, he'll be fine. And Adam Thielen's coming back. They're going to do some damage. And I really like the over in that football game at 42 points. But this is a wait-and-see approach for me, Jimmy. If I can get a fully healthy, intact offense for Minnesota, they'll do damage.
What do you think of David Blau at quarterback? Do you like what you're seeing from him? Donnie, do you like what you're seeing from David Blau at quarterback?
I mean, it was his first start, surprise in the first half. Oh, my goodness, looks like we have a pretty good quarterback here, but the bottom really fell out in the second half. Now you get some film on him, and he's going away on the road in a tough environment. I'm not buying into the rookie just yet, Jimmy.
Whale Capper, Lions, Vikings. I don't care what is coming out of Diggs and these guys on the Vikings. They got beat up in a very tough football game, and they're on short rest. I want to take the Lions here. Now, I get what the guys are saying. And it all started with JP saying, never lean Lions. Rob Job repeating it. Robert Weimer saying, another stay-away game for me. Cousins probably rolls, but never lean Lions. Whale Capper, should I be leaning Lions here?
I don't mind leading lines. I'm probably going to stay away, and I think Donnie nailed it. This is one of those that you really need to do a lot more injury information curating before you make a decision. But let's just, for the sake of speculation, let's say that I think your first most important question is David Blau going for the Lions as quarterback? And I think he probably will. I liked his kind of enthusiasm for chucking it. Obviously, it didn't manifest a win for the Lions on Thanksgiving, but it got them a cover. And to a degree, I think it gets them points in this game. And if it doesn't get them points, it probably gets Minnesota points because it's going to set them up with short fields or pick sixes, things like that. The Vikings secondary is a huge issue, in my opinion. They have some huge problems with Xavier Rhodes and Mike Hughes. These guys are not good enough cover corners to match up well with the likes of Marvin Jones and Kenny Galladay. So I think you're going to see a chance for the Lions to score some points here, which means either take the points with the Lions or look for an over here. I don't think we'll see Dalvin Cook. If I'm the Vikings, at least, I'm not putting Dalvin Cook out there. I think Madison is a very serviceable backup. He can do a very nice Dalvin Cook impression. I like that he runs hard. He's a more physical type of runner than Cook is, where Cook is more slippery and elusive and speedy. Madison can put some hits on some guys, which should do well against the likes of the Lions defense, which is playing pretty soft right now. So I think that Vikings get a win. I don't know that it's going to be by 14 points, and I certainly like the over, especially if you could have gotten one of those early numbers. I think it was like 42 or 42 and a half when it freaking opened, and now it's like 44 and a half. So I still think the over probably has a little bit of an edge to it, but most of that is just based on David Blau's going to go chuck and get you some passing touchdowns.
Well, Kepper, in my book, Detroit Lions team total is at 13.5. What do you think of that?
Yeah, it's not bad at all. I mean, they have great. I mean, the last Vikings-Lions game was a track meet. What was the final score? 42-28 or something insane. Like this is not going to be some field position chess match field goal type of game as far as I can tell you. I think the Vikings offense is clicking. Their defense has some glaring holes. And the Lions, I think, have the weapons to take advantage of that. So 13 sounds bettable as to the over on the team total for the Lions to me.
It does. It does sound appealing. Okay, let's move on to Dolphins, Jets. Jets open up at -5.5. There are 5.5s on the board and 5s. This total opened up at 43.5. Now at 45. The Dolphins are playing for Flores, and they're playing with pride. And I'm shocked that I'm not guaranteed the under 5.5 win total. I'm shocked. They're playing with a ton of pride. They like Flores. And the question is whether the Jets bounce back after a loss to the Bengals. The Dolphins were impressive against the Eagles. Fitzpatrick is showing that he can play and will have a job again next year from somebody, from some team. Dolphins, Jets, I lean Dolphins and I lean over. The Jets just play so much different when they're at home, and that's what gives me pause. Donnie, Rightside, take it away. Dolphins, Jets.
Yeah, one of those classic games, Jimmy, of what did we just see? Oh, my God, Adam Gase's going to get fired. They lost to the lonely Bengals who haven't won. And, now you go back to the Miami Dolphins. Look at them playing with pride. Brian Flores has this team's going in the right direction. But when you take a look at these games, I don't think the Jets all played particularly that well. But they're going to come back home. And I was really shocked that game stayed under the total. Jumped the line early in the week at 39.5, closed at 43.5. Thought I had it in my pocket. I'm saying, what the hell is going on in the second half from the Jets? But also in that football game, keep in mind, for some reason, Cincinnati kept getting to the 50-yard line and punting the Jets deep in their own territory. We'll see if that continues this week. But if you watch the Miami Dolphins Philadelphia Eagles game, it was a great comeback. It was a Fitzpatrick type of game. But when you watched, the Dolphins made every single big play that they needed to make in that football game to run the Eagles up the flagpole with 37 points. That's not going to happen every week. And the Jets, to me, overall, have a better defense than the Philadelphia Eagles do. And the Miami Dolphins are heading back on the road. And also one of those circle the wagon type games for Adam Gase, because he's going to be put on notice. Honestly, if he loses again to the Miami Dolphins, he's not surviving this year. I think the Jets overall have much, much more talent than the Miami Dolphins, and I think they can rebound at home here, taking those fins, going into colder temperatures on the road. I don't think Fitzmagic continues here. I like the Jets in this game, Jimmy.
The Sports 78's already put $3K on the Dolphins money line, a big boy bet. A big boy bet from the Sport 78. That's the balls that I guess we were referring to earlier in the show. Man, Whale Capper, take it away. Dolphins, Jets, and what do you think about the over? And I'm trying to not let that ludicrous game against the Eagles push me into that direction because we've seen it open up at 43.5, now at 45. Dolphins, Jets, Whale Capper, take it away.
Yeah, and a lot of the same way that my commentary about the Bengals was they've been rewarded for taking chances. Well, triple that for the Dolphins. Like they're playing a very chaotic style of football. They're going for it in places you wouldn't normally go for it. They're going for home runs, which is either creating short fields for their opponents or getting them surprise touchdowns. And I would say that entirely, there's really no reason not to think that this is a short total here, even though this is a divisional matchup. They've played each other relatively recently. There's familiarity. Obviously, this is this is a Jets offense that found some form later in this season. They no-showed against Cincinnati, but it's not entirely surprising when you have such a young offense that's really out of the playoff hunt and coming off of a holiday weekend where they were at home patting themselves on the back for how great they'd been for a couple weeks. So it was a flat spot for the Jets. They looked at, I think Donnie's point about them consistently being pinned was noteworthy, and I don't mind a Dolphins money line, especially given the injuries that the Jets are dealing with. I doubt we see Jamal Adams. I think that's hugely important. In fact, the Jets might be without 3 or 4 of their starting secondary. So this is a potential for a track meet, and 44. We could see that number by halftime. Seriously.
Wow. Wow, by halftime. Wow. Feels like a trigger should be pulled. If you have a free play on the side here, Whale Capper, what's your move?
I'm probably looking for the Dolphins just because of the Jets' injuries right now in the secondary. I think the Dolphins get to 30 again. They're just playing with reckless abandon. It's crazy to see it. I think it's catching teams by surprise. Caught the Jets by surprise the first time they played them. I really don't know that there's much the Jets are going to be able to do defensively to stymie the way that this team is playing right now. But I think your points about Ryan Fitzpatrick were legit too. Like he's going to get another chance next year as a starting quarterback somewhere. This is a weird franchise. It's a weird team right now, but they're playing disciplined football and they're pulling out innovative plays and tricks like we haven't seen in the NFL. So, give them the benefit of the doubt until proven otherwise.
Yeah, very interesting game. I think I should just pull the trigger on the over right now is what I should do, is pull the trigger on the over right now. I will do that very quickly here. Jets, Dolphins getting, it's not worth the 12 cents for 44.5. I will take over 45 at minus 105. That's available at both Five Dimes and Heritage. Over 45 at minus 105. That's my second look. First look was the Giants team total over 20.5. And that Lions team total over 13.5 might be something I bag shortly. It's just that it's being hammered at my book, and it's at minus 138, which is giving me pause. All right, let's move on to a game I find very difficult. Colts, Buccaneers. This total opened up at 49.5. It's now down to 47.5. The Bucs have been bad at home all year, 1-4 at home. Let's see what we're dealing with here. The Bucs open up at minus 3.5 at plus 100. They're now minus 3 at plus 104. Five Dimes has minus 3 at plus 105. The Colts are still in this. This is a must-win for them. Tampa Bay is a much easier place to play in this time of year. I find this game tricky. I find Colts games tricky. Donnie Rightside, take it away. Colts, Bucs.
I love the Colts. I mean, not in this football game. I'm just saying as an organization, I love what they're doing. I think they're going to have a really bright future. They have a ton of cap space, but you can only survive so much. You can't have no T.Y. Hilton, no Eric Ebron. Chester Rogers goes down again. Not much in the running back position, and have a quarterback that doesn't really sling it all around. Now head on the road. And, let's not forget, this team continues to run Adam Vinatieri, who single-handedly lost that football game for him on Sunday. And he's still going to be your kicker for you this weekend on the road. It's Tampa Bay Bucs or nothing for me. And not because I don't like the Indianapolis Colts and what they do, Jimmy. There's zero. They have zero that you can pat yourself on the back on outside of a good offensive line to actually move the football. And I like the way that the Indianapolis Colts have played defense this year, but they're going to be stretched on defense going up against Jameis Winston and this Bruce Arians offense. There's not enough, bullets in the clip here for the Colts for me. It's going to be this weekend, Tampa Bay or nobody for me, Jimmy.
Interesting. Tampa Bay, or nobody. Let's hear what Wildcat has to say about this spot, Colts Bucks.
I agree 100% with Donnie. This is a nightmare spot for the Colts. The one thing the Colts are doing well right now is dictating the line of scrimmage and running the ball down your throat. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense, that's the only thing they can stop. Your weapons in your passing game are entirely deficient right now at the Indianapolis Colts, and your secondary is very vulnerable, and you're going up against one of the most high-powered passing attacks in the NFL. This is awful spot for the Colts, especially right after you've had your playoff dream, your playoff bubble just got popped. This is a better organization, a better team, a better coach, but the way that they are currently rostered with their injuries, I don't like them at all in this spot. And to piggyback on Donnie's point, not only did Vinatieri single-handedly lose you that game last week, he lost you the Steelers game, and he also lost you the Dolphins game. Because if he makes that extra point, then you're going for a game-tying field goal instead of trying to get a touchdown there with Brian Hoyer at the end. Their entire 2019 season looks different if they have a kicker who's capable of making extra points and makeable field goals. So the organization needs to look at kind of how they've distributed their cap this season and the fact that they haven't invested in depth or tried to upgrade the kicker position, because it's cost them a playoff spot this year.
Oh, that Finkel against the Steelers was about as angry as I've been all year. It's still I still feel that anger. Jeff Billing says I like Tampa Bay all the way. Kevin Taylor says I'm in Indy. Not a lot of positives coming out of that locker room. Adam Olin says Colts season is done. Too many losses to compensate for. Bucks, says Adam Olin. Let's move on to Chargers, Jaguars. Chargers opening up at -3 at +102. They're now -3 at -108. This total opened up at 43. That's where it stands right now. Minshew mania or the return of Derwin James? What do you want to put your money on? Minshew is going to have the Jags fired up. The Chargers are a good football team that's had a bad year. I mean, you look at their roster. It is a good football team. Chargers, Jags is a tricky spot just because we know what Minshew's going to do. He's going to have those guys fired up. Donnie, Rightside, Chargers, Jags.
You know what? When you look at the Jacksonville Jaguars, they're going back to Minshew, but Minshew doesn't really play defense. Look at the last 4 games: 26-3 loss, 33-13 loss, 42-20 loss, 28-11 loss. And now we're going to say, all right, well, let's go ahead and back them. When you take a look at some of the injuries in this football game, AJ Boye left last game, DJ Hayden backed up a little. They don't have a lot to look forward to, and we'll even see if Matt comes back at linebacker. If you go man for man on both of these teams, the Chargers should bust this team up. I mean, when you take a look at, obviously, a little bit banged up on offensive line, you have really good running backs. You have some wide receivers that can make plays. You have a really good tight end. You have a defense with a really good pass rush and some guys in the secondary getting healthy. You should win this game. And then you look at games again on Sunday being like, yo, Chargers. You just place the team that can't do anything on offense, and you make the dumbest plays down the stretch and invent new ways to lose each and every week. And now we're supposed to back them on the road. And I got to tell you, I still want to back the Chargers on the road just because I hate everything that's coming out of Jacksonville. But sooner or later, throwing the shot put into the flat catches up with you. They can't win close games. This game's probably going to be close, so it's hard to back them. But man for man, the Chargers should be the play here, Jimmy.
They should be. DeAndre says, can't trust the Chargers, always find a way to lose. Adam Olin says, I refuse to back the Chargers. Give me Minshew. Robert Weimer says, Jagoffs have the blue chew back, so I'm backing the Jagoffs, but like the under more. You know what? I guess, to be honest with you, I want people to back the Jags because I think I may be backing the Chargers here, which I know is not an easy thing to do. Let's hear what Whale Capper has to say. Chargers, Jaguars.
I'm in the same boat as you, Jimmy. If this number comes down towards the Jags anymore, I'm getting involved in the Chargers. And I hate it because Phillip Rivers clearly has a dead arm. The Chargers clearly do not know how to finish games, get wins. This is a weird kind of Groundhog Day with them where every single game plays out the same way and they come up with an unlikely loss. They are so far superior of a team in talent-wise at every freaking important position. And it's just a shame that they can't come together and give us an honest performance. But this is a good setup for them to do that. Jacksonville's defense has completely fallen apart. They can't stop the run anymore. So the Chargers should be able to have a pretty balanced attack, get it done on the ground, take a little bit of the pressure off of Phillip Rivers throwing the ball. I think this does set up pretty well to back the Chargers. And, this thing ticks down anymore. I'm all in on them.
I agree. And this is what the Chargers do. This is when they start winning games just to piss off people. And
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Too little, too late for the Chargers. Now they win and cover.
Yeah. You know what? I'm starting to really like the Chargers after these breakdowns. Jeff Billings has liked the Chargers first half full game and Chargers team total over. All right, let's move on to Chiefs Patriots. Talking about balls. Yes, I think I have the balls to fade the Patriots in Foxborough. The Patriots are human. Belichick can lose 2 games in a row. The Chiefs coming in off a statement win. We remember when they met last year in the playoffs. How could you not? It was as spectacular as football gets. This is a completely different Patriots team. They don't have shootout power. They can't play that type of game that we saw in the playoffs against the Chiefs this year. And we know what the Chiefs are going to do. They're going to put points up on the board. Patriots linebackers don't defend the pass well. Patriots have a great defense. Don't get me wrong. But I think the Chiefs are the spot here. This is going to be a fun one. Chiefs-Patriots. Patriots opening up at -3. That's where they stand right now. This total opened up at 49.5. It's down to 48.5. You know, Teddy Cover says that when he wants to fade the Patriots, he just doesn't bet. And I get that. But the Chiefs are a better team than the Patriots with the Patriots offense the way it stands right now. Donnie Rightside, should I pump the brakes? Chiefs, Patriots.
It's look, I want to be on your side, Jimmy. I really do. And when you look at the Patriots, and really when you boil down their season, unless it's 20 degrees outside, wind blowing sideways with rain, it's hard to back the Patriots. And then we look at games that we just saw on Sunday Night Football, where on the surface, Houston really blew that football team out. But when you get into the actual numbers, Patriots only gave up 275 yards on defense, 275, and gained almost 450 yards, and technically got blown out in the game, even if it was close as what the final score was because of a couple junk touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Now you flip it over and say, what Kansas City's coming to town. And unless it doesn't look maybe 13, 14-mile-an-hour winds and 40 degrees, they're going to be able to put up points. And the one thing I look at the Patriots, and something is amiss because that football game, Jimmy, that's as healthy as they're going to be on offense for the rest of the year, and they didn't look like anything over the first 3 quarters. I'm leaning on taking the points here, but I think Teddy does bring up some good points. You're still back in Foxborough. It's still really hard to beat the Patriots, so it's one of those games where if I don't know if the Kansas City Chiefs can win in Foxborough, sometimes taking that 2.5 points in the first half where maybe, New England starts slow, which they do, and maybe Andy Reid, one of the greatest scripted play callers of all time, his first 15 plays really hit off, and the Patriots get that early lead. I don't know if Kansas City can win full game in Foxborough, but I kind of like them in the first half here.
This idea, Brooklyn Funk Project, never fade Belichick at home in December. DeAndre saying Belichick losing 2 games in a row and at home. Nope. I want everybody to be saying that. That's going to, give me the number that I need. And getting 3 points here with what I think is a better football team, and Jooks BSG saying revenge game. Nico saying the Pats myth is over, no offense and suspect defense. I don't know if I'd go as far as suspect defense at this point. But, man, I like the Chiefs here. Do we see a harpoon coming from Whale Capper? Should I pump the brakes on the Chiefs?
Yeah, I laid the points on the Patriots, and it's not because of the narratives about the Patriots awful loss or the Patriots at home in December. Those things are real, but it's more of the fact that the Patriots are just that much better than every other team in general. So usually they're not losing 2 games in a row, and the Patriots are that much better of a team in their, built for their environment in the cold because they are rostered and they generally build momentum through the season, and they're unstoppable at home in the month of December. Those are things that exist that kind of indicate, more about their DNA than actually meaningful trends. But that said, this Patriots team matches up really well with the Chiefs. I've always kind of looked at the top 3 in the AFC with the Pats, Chiefs, Ravens, and kind of thought of them as rock, paper, scissors. The Patriots have a very tough time stopping the Ravens, but they're built perfectly to stop the Chiefs. And the Patriots, all they can really do on offense nowadays is exactly where the Chiefs are the weakest. So I think the Patriots get this win here. I think they lean pretty heavily on the run game. We saw the Patriots have some success with the run on the ground in the first drive against the Texans, and then they went away from it. They never really went back to it. My gut at the time was, okay, they've got some plays in the running game that they know they can deploy, but they're saving them for the Chiefs because they think they can beat the Texans here with a short passing attack. Well, their rhythm never manifests because the young receivers and Tom Brady have no chemistry right now. But I think that there will be room for them in the running game. And I think we saw that, when needed, Tom Brady still has Julian Edelman. He still has James White to pass to. I wouldn't be surprised at all if those are still the two primary targets here against the Chiefs. And I think you see a pretty heavy dose of keep away. We haven't seen Pat Mahomes since he's come back from his injury really look like the same quarterback that we saw through his first 18 starts. That's a little concerning. And I think that the fact that you can match their strength on offense, their speed with your speed in your secondary is a pretty nice matchup. I would expect this to be a grinded out, low scoring kind of game. And I think the Patriots get a win and get back on track here.
I did not want to hear that. A lot of guys in the chat still liking the Chiefs. A lot of guys still liking the Chiefs. Chris Sanitate says over or under. We got to be quick here. Why don't I go? I've got a question for Donnie about this game, so let's be tight here. Whale Capper, over or under if I gave you a free play? We've seen this total open up at 49.5 and go down to 48.5.
I had eyes for the under. I had the eyes for the under since before the Texans game. It's come down a little bit, which I don't love. It's a little tighter now. And the fact you could see some garbage time points from the Chiefs if the Patriots have this well under control and if they take some of their foot off the gas and give the Chiefs a late touchdown or something like that. I think that threatens the under, and so I'm going to stay off this total.
Donnie, why do you like the Chiefs first half and not full game?
It's one of those things where it's hard to just envision the New England Patriots losing at home sometimes, but I do think in the first half, especially with a non-explosive offense like the New England Patriots, longer drives, less chances on the field. So if you do be able to strike, and again, I always like to lean on Andy Reid, not the greatest second half adjustment guy, but unbelievable getting his team ready to play in the first half of football games, and it's going to be plus points. So a tie at the half with a Kansas City team, I like that a little bit here, much more than saying, you know what, they got to go full tilt and beat this team for 4 full quarters up in New England.
Jin Rummy says
that's
over.
A pretty good take.
Jin Rummy says over, and I love when this chat is not talking about it, nor anybody. Donnie Rightside, we heard Whale Capper, if he had a free play on the total, go towards the under, but wanting to stay off the total. If I gave you a free play on this total, what would you do? Chiefs, Patriots?
To be honest with you, I agree with them. I would lean towards the under in this football game because when you're looking at chunk plays, what's New England want to do in this game? Do they want to go 5 wide, spread it out, and have both teams get 13, 15, 16 possessions? No. They're going to want to hand the football off, play keep away a little bit. First downs mean more than touchdowns, how crazy that sounds, just to keep the Kansas City Chiefs off the field. I think that's the pathway to victory for New England, and I think that it should play out. I'll lean on the under.
Let's move on to Steelers, Cardinals. Steelers open up at -2.5. That's where they stand right now, although Bovada and Bookmaker are at 3s at plus numbers. This total sitting at 43.5 is where it is. And I like this Steelers defense. I like the Steelers defense enough to back them here. I think they can keep Murray at bay. I like what Hodges is doing behind center. Cardinals are done. Can they play spoiler? Look, I want to back the Steelers here on the road. Donnie Rightside, Steelers, Cardinals.
If I can get it at 3 or less, I do like the Steelers. I would even like it more if Juju Smith-Schuster comes back and also James Conner comes back in the backfield. That was a real wake-up call from a legitimate defense that can pressure your quarterback last week. That was amazing to see what the Rams did. And how about if you say, your quarterback struggles a little bit. Jared Goff hasn't played all that well football. This guy was lighting up that secondary. I think you're going to be able to take some shots with the Steelers here, but I don't want to lay more than 3 points in this game. If you can get me 3 or less, I like the Steelers here, Jimmy, early in the week.
Robert Weimer also liking the under. Yeah, I like the Steelers here, Whale Capper. What do you think of this spot, Steelers, Cardinals? And am I liking the Steelers so much because of as Donnie's saying, watching the Rams destroy them? It has to be in my subconscious. What do you think of this spot, Steelers, Cardinals?
I thought the Rams were in a perfect spot last week to bounce back from that embarrassment that they were handed on Monday Night Football by the Ravens, and they obviously had a very focused week of practice. They have more talent than the Cardinals, and so they were able to get out to a pretty healthy lead, play and then dictate from there. Cardinals gave up pretty early in that game, I thought. I do think that the Cardinals bounce back in this one, though. I do not love the Steelers' offense ability at all. I do not think that they have they have basically two plays. They dink it and dunk it, or they throw up a prayer. And the Browns looked completely unprepared for dealing with part 2 of that equation. But now that it's on tape, I think that the Cardinals' defensive backs are going to be able to get a little frisky. They're going to be able to play a little bit more aggressive, and I think they're going to go for some interceptions. I think they're going to stymie Duck Hodges on his first true road start. He started on the road against the Chargers, but if you remember, that game was about 99-1 Steelers fans in LA. And I would think that you're going to get a little bit more of a focused effort here out of the Cardinals after that shellacking that they took at the hand of the Rams. And so I think this is one where I'm hoping that it stays at around 3. If it drifts any further, I'm going to have to think pretty hard about getting involved with the Cardinals here.
Davey Dank says Tomlin and Steelers do horrible when they're expected to cruise. G-Sauce says Steelers won their Super Bowl last week. I'm on the Cardinals. Dennis Garcia says give me Arizona +3 if it's reasonable juice. Let's hammer this Titans-Raiders game very quickly so we can spend at least a minute or two on the Seahawks, Rams, and Giants-Eagles. Titans-Raiders, here we go. Titans open up at -2.5. Now there's 3s. This total opening up at 46.5, now 47. The Titans actually won a game they were supposed to win. For the Raiders, has Jacobs hit the rookie wall? Certainly looks like he's hit the rookie wall. Will they be able to bounce back after getting destroyed by the Chiefs? Waller needs a big game. Vrabel and the Titans are in a must-win spot. Will they win? Donnie, Rightside, Titans-Raiders.
I like Tennessee, and I don't know what the hell's going on with Oakland's offense, Jimmy. 17 points, 6 points, 3 points. We're not talking about going up against, the Chicago Bears of 1985 or the Ravens of 2000. I'm not really into Oakland right now, but the one thing I am into is a team that has their sights set on actually winning the division now, and unbelievable quarterback play. Hey, 1 or 2 or maybe 3 games, hey, they're getting a little bit lucky. Every week this team is pushing into the high 20s, if not more. I'm a Tennessee guy right now. They have every single thing clicking on offense when it looks like the Raiders are just running on fumes right now, Jimmy.
They do. They certainly do, but they are 5-1 at home this year. Whale Capper, Titans-Raiders.
I don't love the fact that in general it looks like David Carr. I think Derek Carr looks like he's going through a crisis of confidence, which is bad for him. I'm surprised that it looks like there are some kind of influencers in the marketplace that are all about the Raiders this week. I don't get that. I really am not sure how they get this win. The Titans are on cruise control right now. They can attack you with a balanced offense multiple ways. They're getting outstanding production out of A.J. Brown in the passing game, and they're getting, they can just hammer you to death with Derrick Henry once they have the lead. So this is a Titans or nothing. I looked pretty hard at the over, full game over, and then I kind of circled in on, just like Donnie mentioned, if Carr's going through his crisis of confidence and every incompletion, he's looking over to the sidelines, wondering if John Gruden's about to pull him, then they could end up still again at 3, 10, 13 points. And then you could be on the short end of an over ticket when, Tennessee gets comfortably to 28 or something like that. So Tennessee Titans team total over might be the right way to attack this. I haven't completely made up my mind yet, and I need to figure out a little bit more why some of the market makers feel like the Raiders are the right side here.
Sportscake says last 6 games Titans are playing as well as they have in 3 years. Robert Weimer says riding the Titan train like I have been for 3 weeks now. Plenty of room for the bandwagon here. Come on and hop on the train to Cashville. Seahawks, Rams. Let's be tight so we can spend a little bit more time on the Monday Nighter. Seattle opening up at -2.5. Now they're at -1. BetOnline has switched and made the Rams 1-point favorites. Seattle's defense doesn't dial up pressure, and we see what Goff can do when he's not facing pressure. He can look pretty good. Donnie Rightside, take it away. Seahawks, Rams.
It's an amazing game, and it's one I need a lot more days to work on because every time I look at this football game, especially earlier today, I'm saying, but boy, I really like Seattle. And then I flip back the Rams can do a lot of things because you're right. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors going on that Seattle defense that if you can get healthy a little bit on the offensive line for the Rams and give Jared Goff some time, they can make some waves. But then it's like saying, Jimmy, we step in it. This is like playoff mode Russell Wilson, that no matter what the defense throws at you, he makes it happen. And that's what I get afraid of as well. And Seattle not being at home, now going on the road, and the Rams should already run the first game up there. It's an incredible game. I don't have a clear path early in the week. It's going to be a good one, and I hope to have one by Friday. But right now, I don't have much on this one to say, you know what? Stone cold winner here for one of these teams. I don't have it here.
Clint Richardson says, I think the Rams get this one. Robert Weimer says, gotta like the Seabags here. Wilson can find a way to get a win. They're 6-0 on the road. Whale Capper, Seahawks, Rams.
This is a Rams player. Stay away. The coaching staff of the Seahawks is not deploying their strengths well at all. If they come out and do the same mess where they try to just establish the run against this Rams, nasty front seven led by Aaron Donald, then they're going to have a long, long night. I think Rams really did a lot of nice things in their passing game now that they have a full complement of weapons back against Arizona. And I think that they probably dictate this one, and it's a matter of, can Russell Wilson come back or not? Does he have any more primetime magic? I think that this is going to be by far and away the toughest test of Wilson and company and their recent win streak. And I think they come up on the short end in this one. I'm surprised that the Rams are plus money on the money line right now. I'm probably going to be backing them to win outright. And I need to get a little bit more injury information first. But I think the Rams are still on the outside looking in, obviously, but still a little frisky to make a playoff spot here.
Adam Olin says, I like the Rams here. The Sports 78 on the Rams money line. Now we hit the Monday nighter. Last game on the card, Giants, Eagles. Eagles opening up at -8.5. There are 9s now at Bovada, Bet Online, Bookmaker. This total sitting at 47. This is a big spread for a divisional game, especially after just watching these Eagles lose to Miami in a must-win situation. Shout out to Prince of the City, who is on the Dolphins money line. Daniel Jones hasn't had a healthy O-line. It's not his fault that they're 2-10. They have no weapons. They have nothing for him. Saquon's playing on a bad ankle, and they just stack the box against him. It's not his fault, but this Giants team is bad. Are they bad enough for the Eagles to cover by 2 scores? Donnie Rightside, your Eagles in action. Take it away, Giants-Eagles.
Yeah, yes, they are good. And if you like the Eagles in this spot, you like them even more since they lost to the Dolphins. I mean, jobs are on the line. The city is ready to absolutely picket and burn down the NovaCare complex where the Eagles practice right now. And Doug Peterson, for the first time in a long time, is feeling the pressure as people saying, I really don't know if he's the man for the job, despite winning a Super Bowl just a few years ago. The Eagles are healthy. The Eagles will get right. The Giants are an absolute train wreck. And if there's death taxes, it's the Eagles absolutely clowning the Giants for the past 20 years, no matter the starting quarterback, no matter where they play. They always own the Giants. But also, I hasten to say this. Watch the game Thursday night. If the Dallas Cowboys win that football game, the margin for the Eagles is 0 with them playing for a chance at the division title when the Dallas Cowboys come to town. If you get one of those rinky-dink games again where you saw the Buffalo Bills win on Thanksgiving, the Eagles like, we'll just go out here and play the Dolphins, and if we win, great. If we lose, great. It really doesn't matter. Everything is going to matter. A Dallas Cowboys victory on Thursday night, the Eagles will blast the Giants on Monday Night Football, Jimmy.
Wow, that's an exciting breakdown. And Jeff Billings completely agreeing. Whale Capper, take it away. Giants, Eagles. Is this a spot where the Eagles smash?
I don't know, man. Did you see that game? Did you see that team play Sunday? They look like they're focused. They look like they're motivated. They look like they are on their way to the playoffs. I don't think so, man. I think they probably get this win against the Giants. I think we're still going to have some drama play out in the NFC East next week or the next couple of weeks, most notably. But I think that Giants are live here for a backdoor and an awfully big number for two teams that aren't that far apart, really, the way that they're playing right now. I think that the Eagles defense, we thought they were getting better as they got healthier, but the stinker that they put up against the Dolphins, I think, betrayed a lot of what I thought about this defense. And I think Daniel Dimes and company, Saquon Barkley, this is a team that needs to make up some ground here in the end of the season in terms of their expectations for where they are at this point in their careers. And this is a good chance for them to pad the stats a little bit and get the backdoor cover in order.
Wow, two different sides, Whale Capper and Donnie Rightside. We've got to put a bow on this show. Man, it was fun having Whale Capper here with us on a Tuesday. I did take the Niners team total over 20.5 at -120. I locked that in. I also locked in the over 45 at -105 in Dolphins Jets. We have no show without these great cappers in the chat. Shout out to all you guys. Steve Overlay, Robert Weimer, Reese, Davey Dank, Justin Grammer, Avi Gold, Reese, Alex Ramirez, G Sauce, Dennis Garcia, Jukes, Nick O, Jeff Billings, Clint Richardson, Adam Olin, Robert Weimer. Robert Weimer, the most consistent thing in my entire life. Very thankful to have you rolling with us. The Sports 78, Jake Bell, all you guys make this show so special. Donnie Rightside, any last words for the great cappers in the chat and those watching from home?
Huge card this weekend. We do want to thank you for tuning in for Director's Cut Part 1. We'll have another one on Friday with this extended card. It's a lot of fun to talk about, and it's a lot of fun when all three of us get in the same room and combine with the chat box. A lot of good information. Tuesdays are a fun show. We set the table, get it done for Friday. Thanks you guys for tuning in, and a lot of fun when us three are here. It's good times, man. I love it, Jimmy.
I love it too. Fun having Whale Capper on a Tuesday. Whale Capper, my friend, thank you for joining us. Any last words for these cappers in the chat?
Always a great time. Always a great time. Best of luck this week, guys. And I hope we found you some good advice here. I think we got a good read on this week's card.
I do too. I think we have a nice read on this card, and I'm going to make some moves on it. I've already made 2. Thank you guys so much, everybody watching from home. On behalf of Donnie Rightside, Whale Capper, Rafa in the booth, and everyone here at Sportsbook Review, thank you guys so much for watching. Let's have a big weekend and get that cash. We will see you Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern. Donnie Rightside and I will be hosting another episode of The Audible. Thank you guys so much for watching.